Hello, my loves. How are you? Today, we're going to dive into some of the questions that you have shared with me around abstinence and if it makes sense to masturbate during that, if it's okay. We've also had questions around does oral or astral sex count and what are the differences? Also, what's the differences between feminine abstinence and masculine abstinence, and when is it aligned to harness the orgasm for manifestation, and when is it aligned to hold energies? And so we're going to dive into some of these topics today. Of course, what I share here is not an exhaustive list, okay, or perspective. This is simply some of my understanding and perspective from what I've been shown and experienced in the energetics in lots of different fashions within my own experience, but also within sessions or other experiences, witnessing other people's experiences. So there are a multitude of things that go into this. Of course, as always, I encourage you to trust yourself and your guidance above all. And this is simply meant to support you and sort of add to the perspective or confirm things for you or just open up new ways of seeing things potentially. So we're going to dive into that. Okay. So the differences right out of the gate between the feminine and the masculine polarities is the feminine is the receiver. And when the feminine has an orgasm, that energy like builds within the body. And many feminines have heard or been guided to use and harness that energy to manifest and put it towards the creations that she wants. I want to take a quick side note right here because this is as we're moving into our conscious creatorship, it's important that we're using that energy to focus on ourselves and also asking to align with the highest source, the highest alignment, the highest potential. And why I say this is why so many divine feminines are always encouraged to drop into surrender, because then she's in this state of receiving and aligning with that highest potential and highest timeline. Whereas if the divine feminine attempts to use that energy to manifest, say, a specific thing in a specific way or a specific person, this actually can put her in the state of actually being knocked off her highest potential and timeline. But then also the other person, places, or things that she may be attempting to control can actually create more energies to clean up because then she becomes responsible for what she has attempted to create if it was not in that highest alignment with where she is intended to be, or if she has somehow put herself in a position to be inserting herself into someone else's experience. Now, I want to touch on something very quickly. Feminines may know who feels in alignment with her, but that's where you always take that power of aligning with the highest potential, because in our human form, we also don't understand necessarily or see all of the intricacies or things that others need to experience to help them to align with their highest potential as well. That is where the surrendering to the higher power and allowing things to naturally align is very helpful and beneficial. Okay. So, this also allows your manifestation in your experience to be very clean versus a projection. Because although it may be the people, places, or things that are intended for you, when you surrender to that highest timeline, it allows it to naturally come into alignment versus going down side rabbit holes and potential experiences or timelines that actually may take you off track and slow things down. Okay, my loves, this felt important to touch on Because as you're learning to work with your powers and your conscious creatorship, it's important to be responsible for yourself, for your energies, and learning to wield those energies and those abilities for the highest good of yourself and others. Okay. Now, with the masculine creation power and manifestation power, oftentimes masculines are taught to practice sexual transmutation, which is actually a holding in of the sexual energies to actually build up their energetic power and their energetic reserves, because the masculine is the giving, right? So if they're always giving out their essence and out their seed to other things or other people, they're losing that energetic force for themselves. Okay. And so if they are practicing abstinence and wanting to manifest, it can be helpful to hold in their essences for themselves and to focus on, again, their manifestation of what they want, but also equally as important, same energy as the feminines, practicing and learning to surrender to that higher power and what's in their highest alignment. So if they're seeing visions as a masculine of what is intended for him, instead of trying to force it to be a certain way in the physical world, he can hold his energy and take action as he's guided and allowing his heart to lead him as he's building his life force. Okay. Again, a masculine, I'm going to have Connor come on and we'll talk more deeply about this. So I'm going to leave space for him to touch on these subjects more deeply. Okay. That's coming soon. And most importantly, which I think is a very key piece, is to remember that you are both essences. You hold the feminine and masculine essences, regardless of how you identify. So when it comes to your abstinence, your sexual energy, or how you choose to use it, right? Whether you choose to masturbate or not, maybe something that happens differently each time you find yourself in this contemplation. There may be times that you are guided to allow yourself to move to the energy of the orgasm and the healing energies and letting that support your body and your manifestation. And there may be other times where you are guided to hold your essences and to not orgasm and to work with the energy in a different way, regardless of how you identify. This is where it's going to be important for you to home in on and learn to wield and harness your own creation power. And I believe that it's unique for each person, and it's really learning that for yourself and experiencing the differences where you're going to understand and learn how to embody and harness those essences. I believe this is part of why the time of abstinence is so important and powerful for those called to it, because you've been initiated into your true creator abilities and your soul has put you on this path so that you can actually restore and step back into your true capacity in this time of actually learning how to wield not only your intuitive and spiritual powers, but your physical world creation capacity and abilities. And this is where that sexual energy comes into play when we're talking about grounding, building, and creating our physical manifestations in our physical health, our emotional health. In having that clear, purified energy will actually help us create more clear manifestations. And again, it's so perfect to just bring it back to yourself. And this helps on so many levels because it helps you feel and work with your own power and understanding that you have the capacity to show up for yourself and provide for yourself, even if you're not in a partnership or you are wanting to manifest that. In the meantime, you are learning how to wield and work with your true capacity, which is very important for being able to sustain and maintain these powerful sacred union connections with another in the physical world. Okay, loves? These times of physical world separation or abstinence are happening for you so that you can work with these energies and again really get to actually know yourself, wielding your own capabilities and dropping into your conscious creatorship, understanding how your energy does manifest and how you have the capability to create what you're wanting while allowing yourself to detach from it being a certain way, but allow yourself to drop into the higher aligned divine sacred connection to source, to your higher power through your physical human vessel and into your connection with the earth in the highest ways. Okay, loves. I had some other questions around if you are not if you're abstaining from um, penetrative sex, but you're participating in oral and or astral sex, does that count as abstinence? Now, abstinence and how you define it for yourself is going to look different for each and every one of you. Okay, you can abstain from one thing and not another. And again, I think that that breaks down to a personal choice and what feels aligned for you. But yes, if you're partaking in oral sex, there is still a very strong energetic exchange taking place. You're still connecting with their energy and their DNA and their essence. And so there is still an exchange, albeit in a different manner. And so you're still processing that information, and there is still that energetic bond created. Okay. So you have to decide how you want to work with those energies. And again, it's not any form of a judgment either way. Whatever way you choose to partake in intimacy, to me, my understanding is it's really more about your choice of doing this, how it feels supportive for you, and that you're consciously making this decision. And I say that because you're here watching this video, so something drew you to it. And what I mean by conscious choice is that there's this understanding that it's not just this one dimensional act, that there's lots of energetic things happening and there's implications around that. And it's just your responsibility to choose how you want to process and work with those energies. Okay. And this question around astral sex is very important, especially for those that have had the Helios Gamos soul merge experience with another, with your twin flame divine counterpart, however you choose to label or identify that experience. You have experienced that soul merge, and there's also layers to this experience because the merging of the two energies within a Helios Gamos merge is a very spiritual and also oftentimes sexual energy because it's that true full essence and energies merging. Okay, our spiritual energy is our sexual energy and our sexual energy is our spiritual energy. At the core of it, it's the life force essence that animates your body and helps you create and supports you in co-creation with another, right? We work with the co-creation energies within us as an individual when we're working with our internal union essences. But then when we're co-creating with another, be it in the physical world, creating a child, or growing a business together, or working in the astral levels in those energetic soul merges, okay, where you're exchanging information and initiating one another into higher ways of being, okay. Those are certain ways that counterparts can work together and experience that full soul essence within themselves and within the connection together, which you often hear people talking about that third energy that is created. That's a really huge expansion when the two come together. Okay. So that is one, thing that I was guided to talk to you about. But also, yes, some have astral sex or sexual experiences in the quantum or in the energetics with others, maybe outside of their counterpart. Some people are talking about like sexting or video calls or not actually having physical contact with the person, but having that energetic exchange. And yes, this is also a very powerful energetic exchange. And I will encourage you to be conscious around those decisions as well, who you are connecting with, and understanding that it's still that deep energetic exchange. And so you're going to want to apply the same values that you have for yourself in the physical world to who you are connecting with on any of these sexual or energetic levels. And really, yes, some sexual connection and energetic exchange is probably one of the most powerful things, if not the most powerful exchange that we can have. Okay, so it's something that as you are initiated more deeply into your process of evolving into your potential, understanding, harnessing, working with, and being responsible for your sexual and creative energy is something that becomes a big responsibility, and it becomes important because, again, it's not just this physical 3D world sexual exchange. There is a lot more power to it. And this is the process of you learning and understanding what that is for you. Okay, my loves. So I just want to bring it back full circle. These energies of celibacy, abstinence, masturbation, to not masturbate, to masturbate, how to work with the energy when you do, or when you just totally hold, is a very personal process. Okay. And each one of you was guided to these experiences or not for different reasons. There's not a specific right way or wrong way. It really, really goes back to what feels in alignment and truly deeply supportive for you. And you may even find a time where you're exploring to discover what that is for you. And as you go through that process, you are learning yourself. You are learning how to embody into your own truth. And if there's ever a time where you are personally uncertain for yourself, you can simply ask for the truth and for clarity for what is in your highest alignment, what is going to support you on your highest potential and timeline, and give yourself space and time and grace to process and receive the information that feels correct for you. And this last bit of what I've shared with you applies to any of these subjects. This space and grace that you provide yourself, discover what is true for you, is one of the most powerful things you can do, regardless of what the choice is, and even regardless of what outcome you end up choosing to create for yourself. Because ultimately, this is you moving into aligning with and owning your conscious creatorship. Okay. So if you make a choice and you don't end up liking that choice or it doesn't support you, that's okay. Now you know that information. Now you know what you want to unravel and dissolve, and you know more information about what you want to align to. And this is a big part of us growing, learning, and embodying our higher self capacity, our own internal trust and knowing into our human form embodied on this earth as we are learning to ascend while we stay in physical human form. So, above all else, I also want you to be very kind to yourself and patient with yourself as you allow yourself to experience your own personal process. Okay, loves. And as always, if you want to speak more deeply about this in a one on one, I'll drop my schedule in the pinned comment. I'm also going to go over on Patreon at some point today and dive into a current energy, divine feminine, divine masculine collective message because as many of you are probably aware, there's lots of big shifting and moving going on the planet and within the collectives. And I want to touch in on some of that. But I wanted to leave this message focused very much on the abstinence and the manifestation and the masturbation essences. I hope you found this helpful. I would love to hear from you as always in the comments. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Sending lots of love. Take care. See you soon. Bye.